Your service to the city of Richmond. Good evening, everyone. Now, I'm not going to keep you all too late tonight, because I know some of y'all probably want to watch the NCAA basketball. But tonight, I wanted to have an honest conversation about the city of Richmond. The same conversation I've been having for the last couple of years as your mayor. When I was a candidate for this office, I committed to you before we ever start talking about new revenue for the city of Richmond that we would do a few things. First, that we would conduct a performance review of every single department to see how each was performing. And that has led us to this day. That we will collect the taxes that we are owed. We walked in the door, we weren't collecting enough of the taxes that were out there. Those that were delinquent, but also the selling of abandoned properties as well. I also told you that we would go and be advocates for more money to the Commonwealth of Virginia, the state, to bring more money back into the city, particularly for our schools. And I see Ms. Linda Owen with us tonight as well. She's marched alongside me and others in the cold weather in December and January to fight for more dollars for Richmond Public Schools. And I also showed you that I would attempt to expand the tax base in the city. You expand the tax base, you put less burden on the taxpayer. I also said to you that I will always be committed to Richmond Public Schools and also improving our neighborhoods. And I could never sit on my hands, particularly for the next 2 years, and just ignore the problems that continue to persist in our schools and also in our neighborhoods. Tonight, I'm going to be very blunt, but honest about the challenges that our city still faces. Despite being a top 10 city for people to visit, we are yet to be a top 10 place for people to live. So tonight, we're going to talk about those realities that we have here in the city of Richmond and have an honest conversation on how we tackle them. Let's take a look at a couple of pictures here. For the last decade plus, I want you to know that your budgets have been built on disinvestment, on deferred maintenance, and simply dishonesty. Why do I say dishonesty? Because as a city, what we have told you over many, many years is that we can deliver you a high-quality service with less people for less money. Have we done it? That's false. Take a look at this picture right here, you can see. This is not a classroom in Mississippi. This is a classroom right here in the city of Richmond with kids gathering around a heater to stay warm in their classrooms right here that you all pay for. Let's take a look at another picture. That's a bathroom right here in the city of Richmond, in a kids in a school. Not in Alabama, but in Richmond, Virginia. Your grandchildren or your children go to work, go to school to learn in places like this each and every day. What school is this picture from? That's Bouchard Middle School. It's been fixed. Mr. Cameron's fixed it. But that's the sort of problem we've had, deferred maintenance in Richmond's government. Let's take a look at this one right here. Y'all seen these before, haven't you? I dodged a couple here on the middle of the turnpike just recently. That's the sort of deferred maintenance that has occurred in the maintenance of the infrastructure in the city of Richmond. Here's another one right here. If you can't, don't have to take my word for it, Bobby, this is going to talk here in a minute. More than 60% of the roads in South Richmond are poor, very poor, or simply fair. You may have not seen, and no sidewalks. You may not have seen a paver or any paving in roughly 20 to 25 years. And despite the good work of this Department of Public Works, we filled 50,000 potholes in 2 years. We fixed 3,200 sidewalks in 2 years, 2,900 alleys in 2 years, and repaired 175 lane miles of roads in 2 years. Now, we're not the only city in the United States of America. I know other mayors around the country. When I tell them that that we had to fix 50,000 potholes, all they can do is shake their head. Because the reason we're fixing potholes is because we don't pay. So, here's the reality. Let's take a little bit to talk about Richmond Public Schools. Half of Richmond Public Schools are accredited. That's just the honest truth. Struggling. 74% of Latino students are dropping out. We have the lowest graduation rate in the Commonwealth of Virginia. And 75% of our students come from a place of poverty in this city. I think we roughly, maybe I might be wrong here, but from the 6,000 or 7,000 students in RPS, they come from the big 6 public housing complexes in the city. 73 of 100 babies born in this city are enrolled in first grade in Richmond Public Schools. 27 of 100 white babies born in the city are enrolled in first grade in Richmond Public Schools. People are not fleeing Richmond Public Schools or fleeing Richmond because of the tax rate. They're fleeing Richmond because of our schools. And they've been doing that for decades. Black families and white families alike. Let's talk about roads real quick. I already told you that 60+% of the roads in the South Side are very poor to fair. That equates to about $100 million in street repair across this entire city. 73% of our residents said in a recent survey that they were dissatisfied by our street conditions. Now let me just articulate just for a real minute what that means. When you own a vehicle, and we've all experienced it if you live in Richmond for years, you got to get your realignment, you got a broken axle, broken rims, busted tires. That's because of the roads. And these are not roads in Iraq or Afghanistan. These are roads right here in the city of Richmond. So, that's why I proposed this budget a couple weeks ago. And yes, this budget is bold. And it made some people a little bit uncomfortable. But it's the truth. In my budget, I've dedicated $17.8 billion to Richmond Public Schools to fulfill Mr. Cameron's, our superintendent's strategic plan to get our schools back on track. That money also involves money for our raises for our teachers. Also, to fix some of those bathrooms, I put $19 million into funding maintenance of Richmond Public Schools. In total, $37 million. In addition to that, my budget also features $16.2 billion to fix our streets. Take a look at this. In fiscal year 19 and fiscal year 18, we were budgeting $3 million, $3.48 million, and $2.89 million. That is not enough to start paving streets in people's neighborhoods. We are quadrupling that with this budget. Long overdue. And we also know that this city was laid out by design. Don't be fooled, ladies and gentlemen. 50 50, 60 years ago, this was laid out by design, where the poorest people in our city live. Our low-income residents have difficulties getting a job. And that's why we've invested in GRTC and public transportation. This budget puts another $1 million roughly to invest in getting people from where they live to their job. Today, I sent a letter to GRTC asking to put that $1 million towards expanding and enhancing routes right here in Southside, so people can get to their jobs. In addition, we have the second highest eviction rate in the whole entire United States of America. And the families that are evicted, guess where their children go to school? Richmond Public Schools. So how can you be prepared to learn if you don't even know where you're going to sleep at night? There you go. And so we put $485,000 in our budget to fix that problem of evictions, creating the first ever eviction diversion program in the Commonwealth of Virginia. And let me tell you this. Say again? I'll go into what the eviction program entails this. Now this should be a last resort. But if you have an eviction filed against you, you end up before the judge. Now the judge has the right to say, you know what? Get your things, you gotta go. You're evicted. But now the judge has the ability to actually divert that eviction. And you go sit down with some pro bono attorneys. We get money, they will pay off the remainder of this program will pay the remainder of the rent. So the tenant doesn't have to move out. The landlord gets the rent that is owed and doesn't have to seek another tenant. And we provide financial literacy services as well, so you don't find yourself in this situation again.
I rise to say I like that argument for certain things, but I'm a landlord. I have properties throughout the city. Not even just one area. I have the church Northside, as well as Southside. I have property all over the city. I understand what you're saying, but if they're not paying, they got to go. How about that?
So we'll do questions and thoughts and all that after. I don't know, but honestly, we want you to get your money. Exactly. We want people to pay their rent. But we all know that some people are living paycheck to paycheck, but we also need some responsibility when they don't use your roof, right? We have to be compassionate to them. I know you practice compassion. Yep. And also, we put $2.9 million in the Affordable Housing Trust Fund as well. Because as more and more people move into the city of Richmond, we're experiencing a squeeze. And so we want to keep housing affordable in this city as well. So $2.9 million. This will help. I call for a goal of building 1,500 affordable housing units in the city of Richmond before 2023. And so that will help us get to our goal. We're almost to our goal already. We might push the goal back even for an even higher number of affordable housing units built in the city of Richmond. But that helps us get to our goal. Affordable housing can range in an average median income of 30% of average median income up to 80% of average median income. We can debate about what affordability is, what the housing is more affordable. We can debate that sometime. I would like to let me finish the presentation. We can talk about thoughts and questions and suggestions and recommendations and all that after I'm done with the presentation. Okay? I made another commitment to be more efficient with your tax dollars as well. When I became mayor, a couple things we've done. We've got our financial house in order. And Wall Street even recognizes us for having our financial house in order. Before I became mayor, we were not turning in our receipts, essentially, all the time. That's the comprehensive financial audit and financial report. We've turned it in all the time, twice in the last 2 years, but even before it was even due, saving us millions of dollars as a city. In addition, we collected on your taxes as well, particularly those who were delinquent. We had a tax amnesty program as well, so we said, folks, come and pay your taxes. We won't penalize you. We've introduced new technologies into the way we run city government. We moved some services in-house. We had somebody out here charging the city $500 an hour to move the snow. We brought that in-house, and now the Department of Public Works does that, saving the city some money. And now, in this budget, Main Street Station will be brought in-house, the management of that, and the management of the 17th Street Market. But I say all this to tell you all that we are not going to be able to cut our way to the top. To fund the bold priorities I'm talking about, you can't do that with cuts. Or we'll be cutting to the bone. And a city government run on just the bone, we don't want to see that. Another thing I want to mention as well, because I see there's some public employees in here as well. Your city government is understaffed. We only have 3,800 to 4,200 positions filled. And you have the lowest paid public employees in the region. You know why those vacancies occur? Because they can get paid in Henrico, Chesterfield, and Hanover. We have a hard time keeping police officers, firefighters, teachers, because they come and train with us, and then 3 or 4 years, where are they? I got a job in Henrico. I got a job in Chesterfield. So this budget also features a 3% raise for public employees the first time in 15 years. Let's talk about our comparisons to other localities. This is the capital city. This is the capital city. And so the state is headquartered right here. 30% of our land is owned by the Commonwealth of Virginia. We do not collect taxes on that land. That means we are missing out on roughly $50 million a year. Can you imagine what we can do with $50 million? In addition to that, we also, compared to our neighboring counties, we have more people living in poverty than Henrico and Chesterfield. So that is a different burden on city government than it is in Henrico, than it is in Chesterfield. So, when the Commonwealth of Virginia funds public education, they believe, because of their funding formula, that Chesterfield and Henrico have a greater need, their students have a greater need than the students right here in the city of Richmond. And they receive more money because of it. They receive more money per pupil than the city of Richmond's kids receive. And now I personally believe that should be flipped. Kids who need it the most should get more of the dollars. So if we had the same rating under this formula, we would have received $15 million. We would receive over $15 million annually from the state for Richmond Public Schools, even though we have 2.5 times more poverty than Henrico. If we had the same rating as Chesterfield does, which we have 3.5 times more poverty than we do, we would receive $30 million. But we don't.
So is that based on land area?
That's based on, they take, you just asked the question, I want to answer it for you. And Mr. Cameron will talk about it as well. But they take the total valuation of our land. But I just told you that 30% of our land is tax exempt. But they don't take that into consideration. And they also don't take into consideration that 1 in 4 people who live in the city of Richmond live in poverty. Also, when it comes to a comparison to the other localities around this city, around this state, some say that we spend $91 million on the operation of government. general administration. What I wanted to show you is that in our calculation or categorization of general administration of government, we also include our contributions to GRTC, the bus, our contributions to other government agencies like Richard Behavioral Health, Richard Ambulance Authority. So Newport News and Hampton and Virginia Beach, they don't calculate things the way we do. They don't categorize the way we do. So when you take all those numbers out, we are in line with our peers like Norfolk, Newport News, and Hampton when it comes to spending where we spend our dollars. We do not spend more money on general administration that some say we do. We just categorize it differently. There's no hard template around the Commonwealth of how you are supposed to categorize where you spend your money. And we spend our money through authorities, regional authorities, and a lot of these localities don't have necessarily regional authorities. Let's talk about the history of the tax rate, the real estate tax rate in the city of Richmond. Some of y'all have been there for a long time. And y'all seen this tax rate. Back in 1988, when I was 7 years old, the tax rate for real estate was $1.53. In 1980, when I was just a thought, it was $2.12. In 2000, right now, 2019, we are at $1.20. This is the lowest in the city's history. And it's remained flat for 11 years. You want to discuss the minimum wage? We'll discuss it. So, we remained flat for the last 11 years. But guess what? The world keeps on ticking. And since 2008 and 2009, inflation has risen. So, the cost of doing business has gone up. But with a tax flat rate, our buying power has gone down. Now, you take a ride with me just a little bit. It costs more to go to the movies now than it did 11 years ago, didn't it? It costs more to buy a Big Mac than it did 11 years ago. It costs more to run the city than 11 years ago. But yet, we have the same tax rate we've had for 11 years. So as costs going up, the tax rate stays flat. So what I have proposed is rolling back those tax cuts before the recession to the level of $1.29 and adding Richmond's first ever tax on cigarettes of 50 cents. This will create $24 million to fund those bold investments in public education and to fix the roads around this city. We are not the only ones in this state that have considered this or done it. Alexandria, Norfolk, Hampton, Newport News, in the last 5 years have all rolled back their tax rates back to pre-recession era. Virginia Richmond has not. You ask them how their schools are doing. Who pays real estate tax in the city of Richmond? Here's the pie. Here's the pie. Here's the thing. We're not going to tolerate rudeness tonight. We're not going to do that tonight. We shouldn't tolerate it in the chamber, the city council chamber. We're not going to tolerate it here tonight either. If you're going to be rude, there's the door. Everybody told me to go and treat others like you want to be treated. We're going to be respectful here tonight. All right? Who pays real estate tax in the city? Here's the pie chart. If your house is valued up to $100,000, you make up roughly 4% of those who pay real estate tax in the city. If your house is valued at $100,000 to $200,000, you make about 10.5% of that pie. If your house is valued between $200,000 and $300,000, you make up about 11% of that pie. If your house is valued at more than $300,000, you pay 30% of the real estate taxes in the city. If you live in apartments or own a condo, you make up about 18.2% of the real estate taxes in the city. If you are a corporation, commercial or industrial, you make up about 26% of the real estate taxes in this city. And let me remind you, unlike other localities around this country, we don't tax income. We don't tax marijuana. We don't tax vaping. We don't tax alcohol. This is all the taxes that we actually have to make this city run. Real estate taxes, mills taxes, emission taxes, things of that nature. Now, I am proud to be a mayor of what I believe is a compassionate city. We will always be judged on how we treat the least of these. And in this city, if you are a senior citizen, 65 years or older, or permanently or totally disabled, we offer tax relief if you're living on a fixed income. So, we added an extra $1.9 million to the budget to take it back up to those who make at least $60,000. If you make between $0 and $30,000 a year, you can get your whole tax bill relieved in this city. It's one of the more generous plans actually in the Commonwealth of Virginia. You got to be over 65. Got to be over 65. Nobody in here is over 65. Once a young, you're out late at night. School day tomorrow. School day tomorrow. If you make between $40,000 and $50,000, we'll write off, we'll exempt 50% of your tax bill. Ms. Owens said earlier, last year we showed a lot of courage, and we were brave enough to recognize that kids were going to schools looking like that. When Henry Marsh says to me, I was going to George Mason Elementary School and looked the same way when I was going there, we got a problem. And so we came together last year, City Council, and our River Chairman was walking around here somewhere as well. She also supported us on this as well. And we put together a fund of $150 million to build new schools in the city of Richmond. And this past December, we broke ground on 3 new schools. This is what happens when we invest. There's a new school coming to the East End at George Mason Elementary School. 2 new schools coming to the South Side. A middle school on Hall Street. A new Green Elementary School. At the end of the day, we have to ask ourselves, what kind of city do we want to be? Do we want to be just a top 10 city for people to come by and visit? And come visit your restaurants? Come drink beer at breweries? Or do we want to be a top 10 place for people to live and raise their families? And right now, we are not there yet. But I know we can do that. Maya Angelou said this. Do the best that you can until you know better. And once you know better, do better. Ladies and gentlemen, this budget does better for those particularly who have considered the least of these in this city. We've made a great history in this country as a city that's excluded a lot of people. You don't have enough money? Excluded. You look brown or black? Excluded. This city, this budget brings justice and equity to some of the challenges that we've been facing for years that we cannot be blind to anymore. We can do better. And we will with your help. Mr. Cameras. Oh no. Bobby Vincent. Bobby Vincent is the director
I've been with the city of Richmond for 26 years. I was born and raised in Richmond. Richmond Memorial Hospital, 1969. My parents drove out on the Brook Road and drove my young grandpa's home. And I've been in Richmond ever since. I'll tell you that story to tell you this. You're looking at somebody who cares about your city. I'm homegrown. Okay? I drive down the same streets that you drive on. I live in the middle of the city. My baby boy goes to Richmond Public Schools. My wife drives in the same roads that you all do, and so does my mother. And I hear about the potholes. This $16.2 million, what it would do for our infrastructure is something that we have, not based upon my recollection, ever done. I've never paid 200 lane miles at one time before. But you want to know something? We're ready to do it. We're tired of practicing. I have charts up here that can tell you the condition of every single street in the city of Richmond. And I know where the problems are. And for those of you all who speak Spanish, we do have an interpreter back here in the back, Mr. Javier. He will be able to interpret it, because we want to make sure you understand everything that we're saying tonight. But as I was indicating, I'm tired of practicing. I'm tired of collecting data. I'm tired of having vehicles drive down the street to tell us where the problems are. I know where the problems are. I know what we need to do to fix it, and our staff is ready. The only thing that's missing is the money. We've been paving pothole after pothole after pothole. We done packed so many potholes, the street can't take it anymore. They can't take it anymore. I don't want to brag about us fixing 25,000 potholes per year. I want to live in a city where there's less than 5,000 potholes as a need. We all, as the mayor indicated, we all deserve better than that. We deserve better than to have our front end lines messed up. We deserve better than being afraid for our elderly parents to drive at night when it's raining because you can't even see the pothole that's in front of you. We shouldn't have to drive like that. We shouldn't have to live like that. Not within our communities. And Richmond is better than that. I've been to New York, I've been to Philadelphia, I've been to Washington, I've been to Baltimore, I've been to Los Angeles. That's their problem, that they have to contend with on how to deal with their streets. But here in Richmond, we're not dealing with the trash, and we're not going to deal with the potholes. When we look at $16.2 million and paving 200 lane miles, okay, the city of Richmond is broken down basically in terms of blocks. So I'm going to break it down for you so you can understand. It costs roughly $25,000 per block to pave. Now, we don't need a rocket scientist to tell us we got a heck of a lot of blocks in the city of Richmond. So I don't want to tell you that we have 2,400 lane miles of roads. That's something that may be incomprehensible. But when I break it down to you in terms of blocks, everybody knows what a block is. And we have over 8,000 blocks of streets located within our city of Richmond. So the $16.2 million is definitely a start. And it's something that we have needed for a long time instead of the $3.5 million that we've been getting in past years, or the $2 million that we've been getting in past years, or even the $5 million that we received a few years back. But we have a need that's greater than that. And we continue to fall deeper and deeper into the very potholes that we're creating within your neighborhoods. So this plan is in fact aggressive. And I know that it's more money out of all of our pockets in order to make a difference within our community. But you have to ask yourselves. Because I know that I spent over $1,000 last year. Blew out a tire, front end alignment on my vehicle, and the same thing on my wife's. Okay? One of them happened in Michael County, one of them in the city of Richmond. That $1,000 could have very well went towards paying taxes to get us to take care of our roads. That helps. We're blending in with the Department of Public Utilities. We're taking money from them in order to better pave our roads. We have worked out as many logistics as possible. We've taken it out, flipped it up, rubbed it down. Now I'm ready to slap it, okay? I'm ready to slap your neighborhoods with as much asphalt as possible. Oh, God, let me say that. Well, hopefully you got the a difference. Believe in us. We have the stats right here before you. I have no reason to mislead you. You all have been seeing my face for years. This man right here has rolled up his sleeve and come out into the community to tell you, to take the shots. That's a part of our job. But please, be willing to work with us, and I guarantee you we will make a difference, and you will see it. Thank you.
Now we're going to bring up Mr. Cameras to talk about what the investments in RPS will do for Richmond Public Schools. Mr. Cameras.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for the opportunity to speak. I also just want to take a quick second to recognize a couple of school board members that are here. Don Page, chair of the school board. Don, please stand up. And also, I know Linda spoke before, but Linda Owen. Both represent the South Side incredibly well. I also just want to thank Councilmember Jones for his support of RPS. And I want to thank any RPS staff or former staff in the audience. Do you mind raising your hands or standing up to be recognized? Thank you. Thank you so much for what you do. And I also just want to make sure to thank and recognize the mayor. This is a courageous and bold budget. And I think it speaks to the values of our city. You know, Vice President Biden once said, don't tell me what your budget is, or don't tell me what your values are. Show me your budget, and I'll tell you what your values are. So if you look at this budget, it's clear what the city's values are under the mayor's leadership. Our children and their future. And that makes me incredibly proud to be a part of this community. And I just want to say thank you to all of you for welcoming me. It's been a little bit over a year, but I have to say I love Richmond, and I'm grateful to serve here. I'm grateful to be part of this community. One of the questions we get is, why does Richmond Public Schools need more money? Don't you already get a lot of money? Here's the thing. We have one of the highest poverty rates in the country when it comes to school divisions. And we have research. This just came out of a study that was recently done that shows if you have a school district with 40% or more kids living in poverty, to get those kids up to an average level, you need, the study said, it's not me, between $20,000 and $30,000 per child more than what other school divisions which have lower poverty rates need. 20 to 30,000 more than what other divisions get. Well, let's see what, so I know you can't see this, but those three blue bars on the left, that's how much the counties get, about $10,000 per student. That's how much they spend altogether. We spend a little bit more, about $13,000, but remember what I just read. School divisions in poverty need 20 to 40,000 more. We're getting about 3,000 more. And the bars on the right, those show our poverty levels. Remember, that statistic was about 40% or higher. We're at 66% poverty. That is 1.5 times Henrico, twice Chesterfield, and 3 times Hannah. Not even in the same ballpark. And why does it cost so much to provide a great education for kids who are growing up in poverty? Because the challenges that they face are so deep, and it affects their learning, it affects their communities, it affects their schools. Since I became superintendent over a year ago, I have had more than 20 students shot. And over 6 of them died. We had a student shot last night. Now imagine you're the brother or sister or friend of one of those kids, and we ask you to come to school the next day and learn the Pythagorean theorem. Our kids need more support. We're not going to lower the bar. We're going to raise the bar, but to help them get there, we need to provide them all the support that they need. You know, one of the reasons I struggle about calling snow days is because I know that some of our kids, if I call a snow day, they're not going to eat that day. And so if there's a snow day on a Friday or a Monday, it means they may not eat for 3 days. That is the reality that many children in Richmond Public Schools are dealing with every day. That is why it is more expensive to educate children here in Richmond. One of the things I heard when I got here is, before Richmond Public Schools gets any money, you need a plan. I said, all right, that's fair. So we spent months in over 170 community meetings all across the city, over 3,000 people participating, to create Dreams for RPS, which is our new plan for the next 5 years. Now, I didn't write the plan. Ms. Page and Ms. Owen didn't write the plan. The whole community wrote the plan. In fact, we have copies of it on your way out if you'd like. We have them in English and in Spanish. And it's a wonderful plan because the community wrote it. And it has 5 big priority areas. The first one, we got to have exciting and rigorous teaching and learning in all of our classes. When I first came to Richmond, I visited one of our high schools, and I found that the kids there only had one AP class, advanced placement class, that they could take. Only one. How are they going to compete with kids in Raggo and Chesterfield and other places where their high schools have 10, 15 advanced placement classes? We have to raise the bar here in Richmond. And one of the investments that we're making in that first priority is making sure every one of our 3rd graders can read on grade level before they go on to the 4th grade. And why 3rd grade? Because 3rd grade is when you go from learning how to read to reading to learn. And we know if you leave the 3rd grade not reading on grade level, you are 4 times more likely to drop out. So this budget, the mayor's budget, puts over $1.6 million in the budget for reading specialists and a new reading curriculum and all kinds of other supports to make sure our kids can be reading on grade level. I think you would all agree, if you want to have a truly free life, it starts with education, and education starts with reading. Second priority, the community very clearly said we got to have great people, great teachers, great custodians, great nurses, and we have to keep the great ones that we have. And we have a lot of amazing people in RPS. And so one of the other things the mayor budget includes $6 million for a raise for all staff. Yeah, I think we can do that. We've got teachers who sometimes work 2 jobs, even 3 to make ends meet for their families. I had a nurse who had to retire because she was, or resign because she was on food stamps. I got bus drivers who I'm competing against Amazon and Walmart and all the other corporations that are paying a lot more. If we want the best educators for our kids in Richmond, we got to pay. And if we want to keep the great ones we got, we have to pay. Third priority in the plan, safe and loving school culture. We want school to be not just safe, but a place where our kids feel loved and nurtured for who they are. You heard me talk about the challenges that so many of our young people face. So in this budget, over $500,000 of mental health supports, nursing supports, and other supports to make sure that school isn't just a great place to learn, but it's a great place to be, where there's joy, where kids are smiling and feel loved. That's what I want as a parent. Isn't that what you want for your kids or grandkids? Shouldn't all kids have that then? Fourth priority, partnership with our families and community. We can't do this alone, and I'm not even going to try. We need you all. We need families. We need community. And that's why there's all sorts of investments in here to help make sure that we are bridging the divide between family and school. We pretend like these are 2 different things, but really, it's all the same kids, it's all the same families. So we need to make sure that we are bridging that divide, bringing families together with our kids and our teachers to make sure that we are able to move forward together. And then last, modern systems. Look, our HR system that we run the whole school system on, it comes from the 1980s. Did someone say it's a hot mess? You are exactly right. It sure is. It's from the 1980s. We cannot run a 21st century school system on 20th century technology. We need to invest in the backbone of the system so that we're able to provide the customer service that we know we should be providing to our employees, to our families, and to the community. And this budget has $19 million for school repairs. $19 million. That is an actual bathroom. It has been fixed. The mayor showed you another picture. That's been fixed. But here's the sad truth. I could spend all night showing you pictures like that. On the south side, north side, east end, west end, it doesn't matter. Many of our buildings are over 100 years old. And they haven't been maintained. Now, this, for me, is pretty simple. If you would not have your own kids or your own grandkids go to a school that has a bathroom like that, why should anyone? We have been killing ourselves to try to fix all these things, but there's only so much you can do with the money you got. We need to invest more so that our buildings say to our kids, we love you. Well, instead of what they say right now, which is, I'm not sure we care about it. Moving on. Just to wrap up, let me just say, I am incredibly grateful for the opportunity to serve and do this incredible work. And you know, this is not an easy budget to put forward, but it's the right budget to put forward. And as the mayor said, it's about justice. It's about doing right by our kids. And we talk a lot about fixing RPS. Now is an opportunity to stop talking and start doing. And I just want to thank the mayor for his leadership on it. Sorry, real quick. We have Principal Keisha Ryan here from Francis. And I believe we have Principal James Horton from Oak Grove Bellmead. Come on up. Thanks so much. Just mind saying a few words about what this all means to you?
Good evening. As he said, my name is Keisha Ryan, and I am the very proud principal at J.L. Francis Elementary School on the south side of Richmond off Steve Road. And just a little bit about my school. We fluctuate between 595 and 600 students. We have 43% Hispanic population, 50% African American population, and about 90% poverty. It's interesting, and I wrote this whole thing, and I just want to talk to you for just a moment. Last year, Mr. Hughes came to every school to meet us all. And one of the questions he asked was, what keeps you up at night? And I want to tell you a little bit about what keeps me up at night. I shared with him at the time any inequity that my children face. I treat every kid like they're mine. He said before, you don't want to send your kids there, then no kid should go there. These are my students. When I started at J.L. Francis, and if you've ever been there, we're an open concept. And the first thing people say, oh, well, you need doors. But we don't care about that. We're okay with the way it is. But we need carpet.
Yes.
We need paint.
Yes.
When I started at J.L. Francis, my kids had PE in a hallway.
Yes.
Like, we don't have a gym. Like, my students literally have gym PE in a hallway. And so now, you know, we're excited. My PE teacher, he's wonderful because I gave him a trailer. But then, when the air doesn't work, and it's 99 or 95 degrees in the trailer, then my children have to come back to the hallway. And we don't do a lot to complain. This is not about complaint. This is about advocacy. I need to advocate for my children. We need the money so that we can invest in our future, in your future. And I'm going to wrap it up because when you invest in your future in Richmond, then you get people like Tia Wade. Tia Wade. Raise your hand, Tia. I taught Tia in the 8th grade. Now she works for Richmond Public Schools. I taught the assistant principal at MLK. I taught one of the teachers at Henderson. So when you invest in our children, they come back and they reinvest themselves in our children. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Good evening, everyone. My name is James Gordon. I serve as the principal of Oak Grove Elementary. Thank you for the opportunity. Councilwoman Robertson, and all the other officials. Earlier this week, one of our students, his brother, his adult brother, was murdered. So, Superintendent Cameron talked about the impact or the effects of trauma. So, this student, who is a 4th grader, is still going to be held responsible for the Virginia Studies 4th grade SOL test, the 4th grade reading SOL test, and the 4th grade math SOL test. Now, I'm not saying that he shouldn't be held accountable for those tests, but I only can imagine what his mind might linger and think about throughout the course of the next couple of months and or years, to know that as a 4th grader, that his brother was murdered here in the city of Richmond because of gun violence. And so one of the things that we have started at our school with the support of RPS is trauma-informed practices. And so we have a partnership with Child Savers where they come in and they do professional development sessions with our teachers, with our staff members, and we even have created a room now for mindfulness where our students can go and take a mindful moment when they need to have a break. And so we have our school counselor, one of our counselors, Mr. Parker, is going to talk more about what we're doing here at Oak Grove.
Good evening. Good evening. It's a pleasure to be here. It's a pleasure to be back home with Richmond Public Schools. I actually work in a school district in Northern Virginia as a school counselor. And my school counseling curriculum looks totally different than here in Richmond because of the need that we have in Richmond. I'm a product of John Marshall High School. I'm excited once again to be back here working with my babies. Okay, I've attended Virginia State University, Virginia Union University, University of Richmond, and VCU. Okay, I've also had a business working with RBHA, social services through the city of Hopewell, Dinwiddie, Charles City, surrounding counties. So there are experienced individuals working in the city of Richmond with your babies. Now, in practicing mindfulness, we're trying to re-engage and refocus our children so that when they are coming to school with these traumatic experiences, how to engage that logic thinking brain, okay? Sometimes it's difficult for our kids to re-engage given the situations, the home environment, environmental stressors. I think Principal Gordon mentioned about the child that we had today who periodically visited my office throughout the day just to stay in touch and do check-ins with, but also a child who did not want to go home this evening because that child is in foster care, okay? So she has been removed from her family, wanted to leave the school building to run home and re-engage with that mother, okay? These are situations that, and this is just a snippet of what we go through on a daily basis while engaging, learning, attitude, attendance, and just trying to be productive citizens here in the schools, here in our schools in Richmond Public Schools. Now, all I want to say is this, is is that mindful practice is an ongoing trend in our nation, how to hopefully bring about changes in our children's thinking, creative, critical thinking, citizenships, and also collaboration and communication across our school district, okay? I think if we can pretty much give this a moment where everyone, and I'm going to ask everyone, if we can just take 1 minute, everyone close your eyes, because I'm going to put you through a routine that we actually do in our school, okay, to help our kids to kind of center our energy, our thoughts, so that we can have a more productive and positive mindset. So I'm going to ask if everyone can just close their eyes, or if that is comfortable for you. If not, you can leave your eyes open with a soft gaze, okay? So just give me a moment. Just go through this in visualization with me. And so we're going to practice closing our eyes. If you choose to keep your eyes open, that's fine. Allow your hands to rest softly with little air. Just just have thoughts of clouds, the sea. Allow your feet to be firmly placed and positioned on the floor so you can feel the energy from within. Take a deep breath in. Take a deep breath in through your nose, and we're going to count 1, 2, 3, 4. We're going to exhale that breath. So we're going to let it out now. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay? Now, I want you to gently and slowly open your eyes. Okay? This is just a snippet of what we try to do when we have a child that has been engaged in a traumatic experience, to help center that energy, to help refocus and re-engage their thinking brain. Because we all know that if we are in fight, flight, or freeze, we cannot think. And so we have a closed mindset. And if our mindset is closed, we're not open to engage in new thoughts, new learning. So that's why it's very important that, and I saw it up here on our strategic plan as well moving forward, it's very important that we are thinking of ways that we can engage our kids in different methods of re-engaging our kids moving forward in the school district. So I want to thank you guys for allowing me to.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys. Recently, I had to do an exercise about what kind of city Richmond wants to be roughly 30 years from now, 2037. And here's where I want to see Richmond. This is where I want Richmond to be. In 2037, Richmond is a welcoming, inclusive, diverse, innovative, and equitable city of thriving neighborhoods, ensuring a high quality of life for all. We don't get there unless we invest in our schools and in the neighborhoods around those schools. And the honest truth is we have not been doing that. Name a neighborhood, you can see the disinvestment. You can see the deferred maintenance. And you can see the dishonesty. I'm here before you tonight because I recognize there's some little mistrust in government at all levels, local, state, and federal. But I'm here tonight to stand by my plan because I love the city and I know we can do better. We'll take some thoughts and questions. Yes, sir.
Hi, my name is Willis Hidalgo. I'm a business owner in the city of Richmond for the past 17 years. And I'm also the founder of the Latin Jazz and Salsa Show Festival at the Dogwoodale Amphitheater. Okay? Your Honor, when you spoke about equity and money needing to come into the city of Richmond, I would like to know how many contractors from the city of Richmond are involved in building these new schools. Because if we get outside contractors to come and do this job, all we're doing is building the economies from other communities. We're not building our economies. If they spend $50 million in building schools, and the contractors come from other communities, other states, which the city has done and hired other state contractors to come in and do work in this city, we're not building our community. We're taking our money and sending it to other communities. One of the other questions that I have to ask is the $16 million that are going to be used to fix the schools and maintenance the schools. Are those contractors, those plumbers, those electricians, the cleanup crews, are they from the city of Richmond? Or are they from outside of other counties and other cities? Because if we don't do that, we took the little bit of money that we got and gave it to another community. And all we get is something that they fix. We need more than that. And when you get the community involved in working, those children won't have the traumatic events in their lives as much because their parents will be working. That father will be working, building the school that his children is going to go to school in. You understand? Another thing when it comes to the contractors, where is the process? Where is the procurement process, the open process, where we see what are the contractors and who are the contractors that are getting these jobs? And who is making the decision on which one of these contractors are getting the jobs? If 1 penny of our government dollar is being used on a project, we must insist that the contractors, the suppliers, the architects, the laborers, the equipment comes from our community. Okay? I didn't come here today, Your Honor, to talk about construction. I give you the respect that is due. You know, you do that respect. I didn't come here to talk about construction, which I've been a contractor my whole life, over 40 years. And I've had my shop in Richmond for 17 years. I came here to talk about the Latin Jazz and Salsa Festival. But I think this just took the situation. How many fathers or how many people have family in Richmond that need work, that need a job? We should be training our people. If you're going to build a school, the contractors must be dedicated to training and having entry-level positions for the people of the city of Richmond for that money to stay here. And I hope I'm reaching. I didn't know I need to be so passionate. God bless you guys.
Oh, we love passion. Thank you.
And we fully agree.